What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. This is the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast, the official podcast of thefantasyfootballfanatics.com. It is Friday, August 2nd. Guys, we are in draft month. What's up? Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Griffin, joined by both CJ the Hitman Hickman and Jason Cabrera. What's up, guys?
How's it going, man?
What's going on, everybody?
Not much. Football has happened. There's
something happened out there.
There has
something
been
resembling football.
There's been an exhibition. Football has been played on the NFL level. Well, maybe not technically on the level. We're not
tights running around.
We're not in midseason form. Starters have not played, but football happened. Hall of Fame game, and Broncos won. Is the consensus? Because I don't think any of us really watch it. Not too much.
Won.
Not too much to take away from that unless you're a fan of the team. I mean, I barely watched the Hall of Fame game last year. My Ravens were in it, but not a lot to take away because starters aren't playing. The playbooks aren't really established. It's just, it's an exhibition. It's basically a glorified scrimmage is all it really is. But it's fun to watch. It gets you hyped. Football's back, kind of. We're getting there. We're getting close. Today we have an amazing show for you guys. Today we're going to be talking about our consensus running back rankings. This is one of the big ones. This is one of those ones you guys are going to want to refer back to all the way through your draft. So make sure you guys mark this episode, download it. If you want to give us a rating review on it, we appreciate that too. And of course, your feedback is great. But this is going to be part 1 of 2. We're going to get through the running back ones, and we're going to really talk about these guys, why we have them, because in years past, it's been very, very easy to be like, well, this is the top guys, and this is the order, and it's a pretty consistent consensus. There's a lot of guys that are interchangeable once you get past the... Really, I mean, you could argue after the first guy on the list, but I mean, it's really interesting. So we're going to spend a lot of time kind of unpacking our top 12 running backs on this show, and then we're going to do our part 2 episode where we're going to deep dive into the RB2s and those flex waiver wire type guys. So that'll be on Tuesday's show. So bear with us, and we're going to get to all that. As always, make sure you guys subscribe wherever you're listening. We're a year-round podcast. You can find us on Twitter at the FF Fanatics. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics. You can follow us, obviously. You can follow the website, thefantasyfootballfanatics.com. You can email your questions to thefantasyfootballfanatics@gmail.com. And of course, if you want to support the show, head over to patreon.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics. You'll notice a theme there. And you can help to support the show, keep us doing what we're doing. Rate, review wherever you're listening. You can see these recordings happening live on Twitch. We do Q&As afterwards. YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, the works. With that, let's get right into it because we're going to need as much time as possible because the odds of this being under an hour are already basically non-existent. So no warm-up. We're going to jump right into some of the top headlines from around the league. As per usual, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of news articles going around right now, and we're going to bring you the ones that we think are most fantasy relevant. These are signings, injuries, people not playing because of reasons, whatever the case may be, not necessarily best shape of his life type news, which, as great as that is, and that may help inform a decision for you, it's not really... everybody's in the best shape of their life. And as we mentioned on Tuesday's show, a lot of those guys who you hear this narrative around don't even end up making the team. So, pointless. So, let's move on to some things that actually matter. We'll go to Indianapolis, where Colts quarterback Andrew Luck is still not practicing. He's still dealing with a calf injury. And this is concerning because... we've seen this before from the Colts, them saying that things are fine and things turning out not to be fine, player playing through injury and or missing time, and this is also the same injury that kept him out of organized team activities earlier in the offseason. So the expectation was it would have progressed at this point, and by all accounts, it seems to be regressing. So guys, what's your temperature level? How concerned are you about Andrew Luck right now? Because we just did our quarterback ranking show on Tuesday, and now this is all kind of broke since then. So what are your thoughts on this? Jason, let's start with you.
You know what? You wrap that dude in bubble tape. You know what I mean? You wrap him in bubble tape. You put him in some styrofoam. You give him a little straw and with some juice. You do everything in your power to not stress out Andrew Luck. He is your franchise right now. So I'm not concerned about that. I think they're just being cautious, and they're gonna let him rest until he's ready to come out on the field. So I'm not concerned about it.
CJ?
Yeah, you still got a couple weeks, man. I mean. Take your time. There's no need to rush. You already know what the kid's about. You already know what he brings to the team. Rest, give him treatment, and then when it's time to go, if he's ready to go, week 3 or preseason, or even week 4, go out there a couple series and whatever like that. And even if not, you just hold him out the whole preseason, and then week 1, he's ready. He's good to go. But I'm not too concerned right now.
I mean, a guy that we have in our consensus top 3 that's missing time, I mean, that's concerning. It, it
Uh,
it's early. It is, but I mean, we'll see. Because again, this is stuff that was supposed to be healed by now, and this, going back a couple months that this has been going on. So I mean, I personally, look, I'm not moving him down my rankings because I'm going to wait and see. I mean, if he doesn't play in week 3 of the preseason, I'm going to take that as a huge red flag. But as of right now, I'm not overreacting yet, but I'm definitely keeping my eye on this because this is concerning. I mean, he's played through injury and it really affected his performance. And this is a team that we're expecting to take a huge jump forward. We talked about he's kind of wiggled his way with the upgraded weapons into that top 3 potential number 1 overall guy. We have the Mahomes, Rodgers, Luck kind of tier, and this could knock him out of that tier for me. So we'll see. We'll keep our eye on things as we move forward. Let's go to the running back position, where we'll start with Chargers running back Melvin Gordon. The drama that surrounds this, and this is important for fantasy. Now, reportedly, the agent has asked the team for a trade. This is apparently about a week ago now. Reportedly, the team offered him around $10 million per year, which is not at all what he wants. He wants to basically set the market and or get a very large contract, and we've seen how this played out with Le'Veon Bell. He wanted $20 million a year. He didn't even get that, and now look at this. So I will say, the team didn't. Well, for starters, the team did not allow him to seek trade partners, the agent, to do that. So they're not giving them permission to do that because he is under contract. So that's interesting. I don't know about you guys. I don't know how you expect this to play out. I expect that we'll talk about this a lot more as we get into the rankings, or we can talk about it now so we don't have to talk about it later. But I think that Melvin Gordon's going to miss time, and I think it's going to be significant time. I think he's going to miss the maximum amount of games that he can before having to report so that his contract doesn't roll over into the next year. I could see him missing a large chunk of the season because this sounds like it's not going well. So I don't know. What are you guys, again, what's the heat index here? What do you guys think about Melvin Gordon, the situation? How are you predicting it's going to play out? And has that affected your rankings? CJ, we'll start with you this time.
It has. When I looked at my original rankings, I had Melvin Gordon up a lot higher, and then it's definitely dropped since then with this news coming out. I the Chargers, like I said, when this first came out, I understood both sides. I understand the player and I understand the organization. The organization, they looking at his track record. Yes, he's been a phenomenal player, but he has been injured. He has been injured. Those injuries have been they've creeped up in very crucial moments for this team. You know what I'm saying? So I feel as an organization, they want to protect themselves, give them 10, maybe 12, 10, something reasonable where they're not, if he gets hurt again, what I mean, they're left hanging out to dry. But I understand him as a player. He's putting everything out there. He's got the production. He's shown these last couple of years. He's been awesome for this organization. Often awesome for Anthony Lynn's scheme. Philip Rivers been having a great year with this dude. This whole offense has been flowing great with him. So it's these two, both sides need to come and find a happy middle ground. I just don't see the Chargers really trying to be that organization to set the market when it comes to running backs. They've never really been that type of organization. I think the last time they even spent like a high enough money like that was LT. But
Yeah.
back then that's definitely different money than it is right now. So I don't see them doing it. I don't see them doing it.
I mean, I don't know if they can be the team to do that. I mean, this is a team that doesn't even really have a home stadium yet. They're in, what is it, the StubHub Center, I believe, and they are having trouble selling that out. I don't know financially how well they're doing. And of course, they got big contracts coming up. Philip Rivers has an upcoming contract, and of course, Melvin Gordon playing on the 5th-year option right now. Melvin Gordon is set to make more this year than he has in any of his previous seasons by a pretty large chunk. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. Jason, what are your thoughts?
I think that, and everything CJ said is right on the nose. I mean, the guy would be considered one of the top running backs in the league if he wasn't injured as much as he has been.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about a guy that put up really, really nice numbers, and we'll talk about that later with our rankings and everything. But the bottom line is this. He's being unreasonable right now, I think, with this team because of those injuries and because of the financial situation that the team is in. They're trying to make something happen. They got one of the better defensive units and one of the better offensive units right now. They're Super Bowl contenders. They got an opportunity to make a deep playoff run. And Melvin Gordon, by all accounts, is basically trying to hold the whole team's progress up and say, "Hey, give me more money, otherwise we're not going to playoffs." Because Melvin Gordon is a linchpin in that offense. He's important to that offense. So I think that the team wants to get this done. I think that Melvin Gordon wants to get this done, but I think they're playing a little bit of chess right now. And I think eventually what's going to happen is they're going to realize that Melvin Gordon's best option is to stay with the team. This is a good team. This is a team that could very well go to a Super Bowl. And the best option for the team is to figure out a way to make Melvin happy, at least for this year.
Yeah, the Chargers have the 22nd most cap space right now, so they're not in a great spot, but they're not too terribly far off the league average. They got about $10 million in cap space to play with based on their top 51 right now, who's predicted to make the team. So, I mean, they've got some wiggle room, but yeah, it's tough for sure. And yeah, and you know, we'll get into the stats very soon, but I mean, again, we are talking about a guy who has played only one full season to this point. He, like we keep saying, he's often pretty banged up. So, and that wasn't even the most recent season. So, time will tell. We'll get to it. I will also ask before we move on, how much are you guys moving up Austin Eckler in your rankings because of this, or are you at all?
Not really.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
If we get into the season and he is holding out, though, I mean, is this a guy that you're gonna maybe take a shot at earlier than you would?
I'll probably a guy I would take a shot at later than I would. I don't see. I mean, even if this goes into the season and we get into drafts, like for our drafts, I really don't see that many people. You know, round 5 or 6 going to be nominating Austin Eckler. I think he's gonna wait. He's gonna go down a little further.
Well, yeah, but obviously, auction draft's going to be a different philosophy than a snake draft, which is
but even in snake drafts, like we say this every year, but like the running back group is so deep. Like, you know what I mean? With him, I understand you probably gonna have a starter, but he's only starter by name. He'll probably only be, but just off of name value. As far as production, that team likes to rotate their guys. So I don't really see Austin going to be producing or coming even nowhere any close to what Melvin's going to be doing or what he has done. You know, so I think they're going to be splitting it up.
No, I mean, I wouldn't put Austin Eckler on the same talent tier as Melvin Gordon, but I mean, if I'm in my fantasy drafts and you know, we're talking, you know, post week 3 of the preseason, Melvin Gordon's still not there. I'm predicting him to miss some time. Austin Eckler's sitting out there. I mean, I'd probably take a shot at him before double-digit rounds. I mean, maybe like 8th, 9th round. I would easily go for him there. He'll probably go earlier than that, honestly. Someone's going to jump on that probably considerably earlier. And I mean, that's going to be the interesting debate is like, at what point is Austin Eckler worth getting? Because I'm expecting it to be a rental. I think Melvin, like I said, will report eventually when he has no option so that his contract, you know, doesn't become a 2020 contract. But I don't know. This is going to be interesting. It's definitely something that we're going to monitor moving forward. And it sounds like it's going to get messy. It seems like both sides are not willing to budge on this. So time will tell. $10 million per year apparently is not within the range of what he was seeking. And we know that a lot of these teams are looking to kind of reset the market because recent contracts, they feel like running backs are being overpaid. So I don't know. We'll see how this plays out. Speaking of another holdout going on, another contract player, Dallas Cowboys and running back Ezekiel Elliott reportedly are, quote, not close on extension details. So this is interesting, but there's a positive vibe surrounding this one. I still think this one gets done. I would honestly be more surprised than not if Zeke misses games just based on the narratives I'm hearing. But I don't know. I mean, this could easily become just like a Melvin Gordon situation. It could get messy. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on this? I mean, obviously this is your division, CJ, so you're hoping he holds out, but for the sake of fantasy and real life, I mean, what do you guys think is going to play out here? Jason, I'll throw to you this time.
Yeah, I think he signs. I don't see this as an issue. I think they're just in negotiations. They're going to come up with a number. They like what they've got going on in Dallas right now. Okay, they've been playing very well, and they've got an opportunity to make a deep playoff run. I think they like Zeke. I think Zeke likes being there. I don't think this is going to be an issue. I think they sign. It's just right now they're, again, same thing as like I said with Melvin Gordon. They're playing a little bit of chess right now.
Yeah, they're actually meeting, which is encouraging. I don't know, CJ, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, look, I know Dallas, they know what they have in Zeke. They know what they are without Zeke. So it makes sense you go ahead and pay him. But you already know once you're paying him, he's going to be a guy that's probably just going to be just like Melvin Gordon was trying to set the market. So I think a lot of teams are, you know, loving this what's going on in Dallas right now, because not only do they have to pay Zeke, they still got to pay Dak, and they got to pay Amari. So that's going to be a lot of money going to this offense. And this is going to be like the Dallas Cowboys of old with Tony Romo, Des Bryant, and who else they had? Jason Witten when he was in not semi prime, but that was a lot of money going to that offense, and that defense was suffering. So this is what they, and then
Can I
this is what's
also
going on right now.
say why I think that this gets done? They've got the 11th most cap space. They've got $23 million to play with this year. So they've got the room to really give him a nice contract
Jerry's
and front load it
Jerry's
and get.
just tight. He's just tight.
Well,
He's
we'll
just tight.
we'll see what happens. There's
Too
some.
busy. He's too busy paying off them lawyers.
Wow. I will see. Obviously, this is going to be another thing definitely worth monitoring because this is a guy who has been universally one of those top 2 guys for most fantasy leagues. So and for most fantasy drafts. So we'll see how this plays out. He gets away from a legal problem, goes into a contract problem. So it's been a frustrating offseason if you're, for instance, an Ezekiel Elliott dynasty owner or something along those lines. And then last bit, the running back news, Tennessee Titans running back Derrick Henry's injury, which we reported on Tuesday's show. It is now reportedly being called a strained calf muscle, and he's expected to miss around 2 weeks is what they're anticipating. So it doesn't look like it's going to be game time. He's in a walking boot. Sounds like it's mostly precautionary, but we'll see. I mean, these injuries are things you don't want to play with for sure. So especially for a running back, a guy who's got to use those legs consistently. So let's go to the wide receiver position. And there's already, we talked about all these contract problems on Tuesday. There's a happy conclusion already. New Orleans Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas has been signed to a 5-year, $100 million contract. That's $20 million a year. That's what he was looking for. The team paid him. Guys, what are your thoughts on this? Because obviously we had kind of faded Drew Brees in our rankings, not knowing how this was going to play out. I've already moved Drew Brees back up my boards a little bit. What say you, Jason?
As far as Drew Brees goes, yeah, that'll bump up 1 or 2. I mean, that's his favorite target. It's one of the better wide receivers in the league. Good for Michael Thomas. I mean, he's proven himself over the past several years. Wow, I'm having an English problem today. He's proven himself over the last several years to be one of the top guys out there at the wide receiver position. He's got a heck of a quarterback throwing the football. This is a team that was a heartbeat away from the Super Bowl. I think that this is good. This is good all the way around. It's good for fantasy. It's good for New Orleans.
Yep, CJ.
Solid, man. Solid contract, man. I mean, I didn't think he was worth $100 million, man. But hey, he's doing his thing. You know what I mean? He's doing his thing in New Orleans. He's got a great quarterback throwing the ball. He's got a good running back. He should, he's going to have to shine. He's going to have to shine and show that he's that guy. When you start players get this money, man, it's either one or 2 things happen. They either show out and show that they prove it and they deserve it, or they fall off and then we start having those conversations of overpaid and all that other stuff.
Yep. Specifics on his contract were $96.25 million. Then obviously incentives, they rounded up to $100 million. First offensive non-quarterback to make that kind of money. So that's kind of insanity. I mean, this is a guy who was, in a lot of ways, the best receiver in the league at times last year and doing things that nobody else on that team was doing. I mean, catching more balls and doing more for that offense than the rest of the pass catchers put together at the wide receiver, tight end position. So, I mean, they bring in Jared Cook, which is nice. But, I mean, this is a huge boost for Drew Brees, the Saints offense. And this is something we all kind of expected to get done. But, I mean, holy crap. He's getting this massive contract after 3 years. So, I mean, happy ending for him. And that makes it interesting because now we move in the same division to the Atlanta Falcons, where the Falcons are reportedly, quote, willing to make Julio Jones the highest paid wide receiver in the league. So this is going to escalate as these things usually do. Julio Jones, a much, much larger track record here. So, I mean, would we expect that Julio Jones is going to see this money? Or is this just something that they're saying to make everybody happy, I guess? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, if they're just saying it just to say it, that's stupid. You know, I mean, once you put it out there that, hey, we might just pay you a bunch of money, you just tipped your hand. So they better pay him some money now. They've said it because they're going to tick him off. Otherwise, they're going to, the Julio Jones, they don't want Julio Jones to walk out the door. And if they're going to say, hey, we're willing to make you the highest paid wide receiver in football, and then they don't, they might as well trade him now. You know what I mean? So if they said they're going to do it, I would be very surprised if they did.
it's going to be interesting to see what they do to make that happen because they only have $7.5 million in cap space right now.
I was about to say, man, Ryan's eating up a lot of that money, and they just
Yep.
re-signed was it Deion Jones to a contract too?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't know how they're gonna be making this money happen.
Yeah, they're in a tough spot. I mean, yeah, Matt Ryan has a $15.8 million cap hit this year. Julio Jones' cap hit already this year is $13.5 million. So, I mean, maybe they just restructure and extend, but it's going to eat up whatever they have left. So it's going to be
a lot of churches chicken down there to get this money.
That's gonna be interesting. Yeah, Jake Matthews making $11 million, Desmond Trufant making $14 million. I mean, they've got a lot of money tied up in a couple star players out there. So we'll see how this plays out for sure. It's gonna be interesting to see what kind of moves they have to make.
When they trade him, they're really making him the highest paid wide receiver because somebody else is gonna pay them. So it's all about wordplay. Wow. It's all about the wordplay. You know?
Insane speculation. Let's go to Cincinnati, where Bengals wide receiver AJ Green had surgery on his ankle. This was a cleanup procedure, but while in the cleanup, they apparently found some things, and now they are expecting him to miss a few games into the season for sure. I mean, this was rumored. Now it's seemingly all confirmed. This is a guy who's plummeting in drafts, and for good reason. I mean, it sounds like he could miss up to a quarter or more of the season. So, I mean, this is a guy who was a solid third rounder, wide receiver 1 upside, and now you are going to have to hope that he has a second half of the season surge. So, like, where do you value that? What do you guys? I mean, we're obviously not here doing our wide receiver rankings today, but we'll get to that in about a week. What are your guys' thoughts on the news around AJ Green, and how are you projecting that forward for your rankings and for the season? CJ, you start.
Man, I was very I wasn't distraught. I was very disappointed to hear he got hurt again this past weekend. So AJ Green, just like you said, man, he's a phenomenal talent, but we're having a situation that's even worse than Melvin Gordon. This guy can't even finish. Can't even really give you a solid year. Like even. These last couple of years have been horrendous for AJ Green, man, because all these injuries, man. The talent is there. He's flowing with this offense. I mean, this offense really flows through him, and then Joe Mixon be able to eat. But I mean, AJ Green ain't there, man. I don't know. You gotta now if he's been going in the third round, you gotta look for him now, maybe 5th or 6th. To be honest, I mean that's probably really disrespectful for the AJ Green. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you can't if you're not there for me, then I can't justify taking you in the 3rd round, man.
Yeah, I mean, and this is a guy who, of course, has we said he's been a wide receiver 1 whenever he's been healthy. Hasn't been healthy lately, and I mean, can you imagine how good this guy would be if he actually had an elite quarterback? I mean, he is really truly an elite talent, and it just sucks to see. I don't know. What are your thoughts? And by the way, guys, he's already plummeted to averaging a 4th round pick, and that's over the last 30 days. So I mean, he's nosediving for sure. Oh yeah, that's definitely way too high.
Yeah, I'd be looking at him in the 6th or 7th round for me now. It's sad because I had him ranked as the top of my 2nd tier of wide receivers, and now I gotta take him out of that down to the 3rd tier because of injury issues. And it's not just the fact that we're talking about injury issues. We're also talking about him playing for a team that doesn't have an offensive line. We're talking about playing for a team that has injuries just throughout the entire roster. So it's just a bad situation all the way around for AJ Green. So I would definitely say do not look for him until after the 5th round.
Yeah, I mean, I would toy with the 5th rounder. He's right now going middle of the 4th, and I expect that to continue to decline as people start to realize how severe this injury is and how much time he could potentially miss. It's really unfortunate. It is, because, I mean, this is a guy who, it looked like they were poised to have a great season. Offensive line's already basically decimated for that team. Now the star wide receiver's down. I mean, that all this news, and we'll get to this is why I have faded Joe Mixon. And honestly, I'm probably going to fade him even more than I have at this point, which sucks, because I love the talent, and the player is really, really good. But, I mean... Right, well, we'll get to it. There's arguments to be made. new rumors surrounding New York Giants wide receiver Golden Tate suspension appeal is that, quote, almost no way he wins the PED appeal. So this is news surrounding the team and the situation. We were talking about on Tuesday how he felt like, and team officials thought that he had a really good chance of winning this appeal, or at least getting a reduction. Sounds like new rumors surrounding the league is that that's probably not going to happen. We don't really know. We'll leave it there because it's all speculation at this point, just something that's interesting. And last bit of news, Baltimore Ravens first round wide receiver Marquise Brown, first wide receiver taken in the draft, officially has passed his physical. Remember, he was injured through the draft and is started practicing. And by all accounts, looks pretty good. I watched some tape on him. Looks pretty good. Now he just needs a quarterback to get him the ball, and that's a whole nother conversation.
You are so salty.
I'm
You're
salty.
just so salty.
I'm salty. It's a conversation for another day. Yeah, quarterbacks need to be able to throw. Anyway,
Griffin hates his quarterback.
I don't hate my quarterback. I just need him to prove to me that he can actually be a quarterback and not a running back at the quarterback position.
You don't hate your quarterback. You just don't think he's a quarterback.
Exactly. Yeah. He's a wildcat running back. All right. So anyway, no, I have a lot of faith in him, and I think he'll develop it. And we've talked about this extensively, but I still need to see it. And by all accounts, he's been struggling in camp. So we'll see. All right. So let's move on to our topic of the day, which is our consensus running back rankings, part 1. Remember, today we're going to be running through our running backs numbers 1 through 12, our top 12-team league, our top tier of running backs, and we're going to tell you why, where we have them individually, why we have them placed there, the arguments surrounding them, and how we are projecting that going forward, and how that's going to change. Remember, these rankings will be available on our website. The website got kind of overhauled recently. The system that they used to upgrade the websites got changed, so I've been having a hard time uploading to the website itself, but there's at least a link that can take you to the document, so you can still find the rankings there, just not cleanly displayed, but it's there, I promise. Let's start off at the very tippy top, a guy we all have as our consensus number 1, the only guy that we are all in unison with, and that should be kind of predictable, or should it be, which is running back Saquon Barkley. Now, guys, Saquon Barkley, I mean, what is there to say? This is a team that is
It's a beast.
the team's not going to do well this year, we don't think. The wide receiver core is falling apart. We're expecting this to be just an increased target or increased volume of targets and touches for him. But are we overvaluing that? Because they know that this is the only weapon that they have. Aren't they just going to sell out to shut down Saquon? Or is he just that good that he's going to be able to get it done and return at that number 1 overall pick value, which is where you're probably going to have to draft him if you want him. Number 1 running back usually goes number 1 overall. CJ, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think partially we got that answer last year with Odell being gone and the poor play of Eli. Saying we kind of got that. Yeah, it's his rookie year. Defenses didn't really have a lot of film on him, but still, it was the fact that he was that offense. So I think that we got a little taste of that last year. This year, second year in the system, you can say they made an attempt to make the offensive line better. So, you got to take that with a grain of salt. You got to, you got the tight end, Graham there. No, Ingram. I'm sorry.
Ingram.
Ingram there. Yeah, Evan Ingram. You got, you got some wide receivers that are going to come back, hopefully, late, towards the middle and then be able to go off. But I think off jumps, you have the position. You got the number 1 pick. It's a snake. You got to go. You can't pass up on Saquon Barkley, man. You got to go in.
I see. I think, honestly, if there was no problems with Zeke, which shocking, Zeke's the number 2, even with the changes, just because of the surrounding talent and the team, and you want teams that are going to be good and or in games, for especially a running back, I would probably rank Zeke higher just because I'm scared of Saquon just because of the lack of supporting cast. But I mean, the talent is undeniable. I mean, 5 yards per carry last season, despite all of what CJ just said. And I mean, we're expecting him to take a big leap forward. He's going to get a huge uptick in volume. We said it targets from the quarterback position. I mean, it's an easy argument. And with the surrounding things around him, I think that he's still just, it's hard to argue him as the number 1 guy. Jason, what are your thoughts?
5 yards per carry, 91 receptions, 700 yards. You asked the question, is it going to matter that they're keying on him? No, it's not. He's going to be their number 1 target through receptions. He's going to be a running back. He's already proven that even when they do key on him, as Jay already alluded to, even when they do key on him, he still gets his yards, he still gets his points, he still gets his touchdowns. This guy, and he's just going to get better. That was his rookie year. I think he's going to take a step forward this year, be even better this year. Yes, you're right about the offense he's on. It's not a very good offense. If Eli has a good year, then maybe we could see these numbers get even better. And honestly, in certain leagues, I do have Zeke ranked higher than Saquon because Zeke is a safer bet. He's going to get more yardage on the ground. But the bottom line here is Saquon Barkley is the best running back right now in fantasy. So yeah, I agree with CJ 100%. If you're in the number one spot, it is a no-brainer. You take Saquon.
Yeah, I basically universally, especially with my number one running back, I want a guy on a good team because they're going to be in scoring position better. They're going to theoretically have better field position. I mean, it's a recipe for success. But there's just such an argument in fantasy to be made for volume, and he is going to get all of the volume. So that's why I agree. And we all universally have Saquon Barkley as our number one pick. So kudos to us for being in lockstep. And now it's going to get interesting. Number 2 on our list, I already mentioned Ezekiel Elliott. I still have him at 2. So does Jason. CJ all the way down at 5. And I would say that I'd probably be in CJ's range if I thought he was going to miss time. But I'm still, at this point, the 2nd of August, believing that he's not going to miss any actual games, which is why I still have him at 2. But CJ, much lower than both of us. Why don't we start with you? Is this just a matter of you think he's going to miss time, or is there a reason behind this?
I feel like it's going to be time, and because he's been away from this facility. Look, I mean, I expect him. He's professional. Well, in some areas he is. Well, I expect for him to be that he's staying in shape and everything like that. But we all know staying in shape and football shape is 2 different things.
True.
I think the risk of injury is probably going to be it's going to be high, very volatile. We saw that with Tyreek Hill with his little situation going on, and then now 2 days later he's carted off with a quad sprain. So that's me. So that's what I'm doing. Just risk mitigation. I just think that even if he does sign a contract before the season starts, he did miss a lot of time. I'm nervous. The injury goes up a lot for me.
Yeah, and before people jump on us for not talking about Hill, they said it was preventative or cautionary. Just putting that news out there for as of now. So Jason, obviously you are in lockstep with me. You have him at number 2. Tell me why.
Well, like I said, there's an argument that could be made for Zeke to be number 1, given that he's on a better offense, better team overall, better defense. 25 touches per game. That's pretty darn good. 2,002 yards last year. The guy's really good. I mean, he's going to get lots of volume. He is what the offense flows through. He's got a good quarterback. They're starting to throw the ball his way more often now. So through the air rather. So I like Zeke at number 2. I definitely feel like he is a safe bet. So if you don't end up with Saquon Barkley and you get Zeke, I think you should feel pretty good about yourself.
CJ, if you thought he wasn't missing time, you would have him at 2, I assume?
Yeah, I would have him at 2.
There you go. Yeah, and I agree with everything that they've said, and we've kind of covered this already. I mean, better offense, all these things, and it's just you got to be a little bit cautious. So yeah, Zeke is number 2 for me, and I think most analysts would have Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel would be that tier break, and then from there it gets really, really interesting and goes a lot of different ways. So from there, let's go on to the next guy, which may surprise a lot of people unless you've been following the show. So next we have David Johnson. So David Johnson, obviously Arizona Cardinals. I have him at 4. CJ has him all the way up at 2, higher than even Jason Cabrera does. So
respect, CJ. Respect.
Yeah. So I gotta know what you have him at 3. I'm surprised you don't have him higher. Tell me why.
I don't have him higher because there's still question marks. I mean, you haven't seen this offense play yet. I mean, we haven't seen this what this offense can actually do. However, I mean, trust me, I want the guy at number 1. Okay, I think he's got the best situation as far as talent. Okay, I would take, if I'm just looking about talent, honestly, I would take David Johnson over Saquon Barkley. Okay, so I want him at 1. It's just there's still question marks about how this offense is going to operate. I think that David Johnson is tailor-made for this offense. His pass-catching ability, the guy used to be a wide receiver. His pass-catching ability is off the charts as a running back. He's explosive. He's fast. Last year, they used him as a battering ram. Okay, that is a really, really high quality battering ram you're using. You know, that's like, you know, trying to use a Ferrari to slam through a brick wall. It's just not the way you utilize that piece of equipment. David Johnson is going to be used correctly in this offense that they're going to do. Regardless of what the offense ends up looking like, I expect he's going to be much more at home in this K-Raid or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I have absolutely no problem ranking him up at the top 3. Like I said, I'd put him at number 1 if I had you know, complete confidence in what was going to happen with this offense.
Yeah, you got to build in a little bit of unknown there for sure. CJ, shocking. Caught me off guard to see.
Respect.
You have David Johnson higher than Jason Cabrera. Why do you have David Johnson at number 2?
Listen, man. You gotta have an eye for talent, man. Listen, David Johnson. I feel like deja vu. I feel like I've seen this story before because there was a guy in the name of Todd Gurley that was on a bad team with Jeff Fisher and a rookie quarterback named Jared Goff. But as soon as a guy named Sean McVay came into the scheme, that man, Todd Gurley, that following year was absolutely nasty in fantasy football. This man was a beast. This boy, Kyler Murray, is coming in the system where this coach sought him out because he felt that this guy was tailor-made for my kicked out the first round pick they just drafted the year before. Made them look like idiots, but they said, no. Let me do this. And this boy is money. He's been money. Jason knows he's been money. He's going to be money this year. So what is that going to do for David Johnson? That's going to open up everything else. And David Johnson is going to be being that guy that we're used to seeing him being them years before that terrible year last year or the injury year. So I have an eye for this, man. I just got a feeling David Johnson is going to be up there with the elites. I mean, he's already elite talent, but his numbers are going to start to mirror where he should be. I got a number 2, man.
Wow, unexpected to say the least. I thought for sure you'd be the lowest out of all of us. I really want to put David Johnson in my top 3, and who's to say that I won't? I mean, we've got some preseason games to watch. We've got to see some more reports from camp. There's a lot of time between now and then. I have him only at 4 because I know that the massive uptake that a guy that is not even the next guy on our rankings is going to have this year, and because like Jason, I just need to see how this offense gels before I can jump back in, because we're all big David Johnson truthers here. At least I know over the years, Jason and I have been. And it's just insane. This guy was the number 1 running back in fantasy. Last year, he was on the worst team offensively the worst team in the league, but the worst team offensively in the league for sure. Historically bad. And he still finished as the running back 10 in most scoring formats. And now he's going into a much more kind of tailor-made offense for his play style. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I think that we should really be talking about David Johnson in that top tier break. But I mean, there's unknown, there's recency bias, there's a lot of things that you have to kind of sort through, and that's why I think as a show we have him in the top 3 consensus, and I'm okay with that. I think that as a show, though, we're going to be very different from a lot of other things you're going to look at, rankings, see other shows, things of that nature. So it's going to be really interesting to see, because I see a world where he could end as the running back 1 at the end of the year. So we just need to see how it all materializes. So I built in a little cushion by having him at 4, but I like Jason, I would have no problem taking him number 1 overall. I mean, that's the kind of confidence I have in the player. It's the system that I need to see in effect. Let's move on to the next guy on our list, though, our consensus number 4, and that is Christian McCaffrey. Now, I have him at 5, CJ the highest at 3, Jason splitting the difference at 4, and man, I bet people are wondering why they haven't heard the next guy on this list name yet, but we'll get to that.
We're gonna get that.
We'll get there. Christian McCaffrey, I'm the lowest on, and that's because I think that his pace that he was on last year was just unsustainable for the way. I mean, they used him, I think, well. I mean, 219 carries, that's not a ton. 107 receptions, so it's still over 300 touches, and that's my concern. That's a lot of hits, that's a lot of wear and tear on the guy, and the team has said that they're going to use him less. He's going to get less snaps, but they said that's not going to, snaps and touches are 2 different things. So we'll see how it all tends to go. I mean, he still averaged 5 yards per carry, got you 1,000 yards on the ground, 7 touchdowns, and then added 800 and 67 yards and another 6 touchdowns through the air. So this is all money. I'm just concerned that this team is going to try and spread the ball out a little bit more, which is why I have them at 5. But clearly you guys feel differently. Not crazy different, but I mean it's one position is a big break when we're talking about this high in the rankings. So let's go to the very tippy top. CJ, you have him at 3. What's your thought? What's your narrative around him at number 3?
My thought process is this: North Turner was absolutely money for this dude, McCaffrey, and you got other people that's gonna take an account for Cam, and I can understand that. I believe that. But then going into this upcoming season with Cam, health being, I guess, somewhat now, you know, less fuzzy, that we know what's going on. They're taking it easy on him. They want him to be able to go into the season as healthy as possible, make sure the shoulders, there's no tightness, no setbacks. I feel like Cam is taking a different approach on how he's going to be able to play, and I feel like that's still going to be able to benefit McCaffrey because teams are still going to look at Cam that he's the same old Cam. And I understand the teams are saying that they're going to limit his touches, but we know organizations, when things in a rut, they need to play. They're going to go with what works, and what they know what worked was Christian McCaffrey. This dude was their offense last year. He was their guy. He was their slot guy, the short gain, quick pitch, all the stuff that was money for this team that kept this offense moving. This was Christian McCaffrey. I don't see that changing. I see that, yes, they might be able to diminish it a little bit, but I still feel Christian McCaffrey is going to be that bad because there's really nobody else that's going to dominate these touches. I mean, Olsen, he's not. I mean, he's not the tight end of the old that we used to. DJ Moore, he's an upcoming talent, but I feel like those two guys are going to be battling for targets, and I still think this is going to be equal shares where both of them are going to be able to eat, and Christian McCaffrey's still going to be making money.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I have a lot more faith in DJ Moore this year. They like Jarius Wright. They brought in Chris Hogan. Obviously, they have Torrey Smith to stretch the field, which is going to be probably more useful for the team than it is for him. And that'll probably help Christian McCaffrey run. They have Cameron Artis-Payne, who they like, who I think they're going to work in more this year. And obviously, Cam Newton, you always have to worry about him running the ball and vulturing some touchdowns. So, I mean, the narrative can go either way. Jason, you split the difference. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is the highest I've ever been on Christian McCaffrey. 107 receptions. The guy would have been in the top 10 of receivers as far as touches, reception. That's crazy. That is nuts. But what that also tells me is that Cam Newton is doing what Cam Newton should be doing, which means short passes to his running back, utilizing those close routes. He has to do that because the guy does not have an arm. He's not good at throwing the ball down the field. So Christian McCaffrey's tailor-made to be in an offense with Cam Newton, and I think he's going to continue to get a lot. He may not get 107 receptions. He may not get as much touches as he did last year, but I still think, like what CJ said, they're going to go with what works, and clearly he works.
That's fair. All right, so Christian McCaffrey, our consensus number 4, and then our consensus number 5, whose ADP is number 3, which is where I have him, is Alvin Kamara. I know a lot of people try to argue that he should be in that top 3 tier as well, but he's 5 for us. I'm at 3, 4 for CJ, 5 for Jason. I'm really actually curious. I want to start with you, Jason, here. Why are you so much lower than what the norm would be considered for Alvin Kamara this year?
Yeah, honestly, it's just because of the situation of the people above him. You know what I mean? The only one that I flip-flopped a couple times rankings was him and Christian McCaffrey. But the other 3 guys above him, I couldn't move because of the situations that they're in and the talent level that they're at. The only reason Alvin Kamara is below McCaffrey in my rankings is because, number one, the $100 million man they have there now in their receiver, so he's going to dominate a lot through the air touches. And number 2, I think Drew Brees is going to be throwing the ball a bit more than he did last year. And they brought in Latavius Murray, so it feels like they're going to try to spell him a little bit more than they did last year. So I feel like his touches might shrink just a touch. Still one of the most explosive guys in the league, one of the most athletic guys in the league. So I still expect him to be top 5, and I may flip-flop him with Christian McCaffrey. I think he's talent-wise a better running back than McCaffrey.
Fair. Well, I'm the highest, so I guess I'll go next. My belief is simply that the sky is the limit for this guy. And this guy is one of those guys that's been a freak talent, a Jamal Charles type guy. He makes a lot from a little. And I'm not worried about Latavius Murray. I think that Latavius Murray is in no way, shape, or form a guy who's going to demand as many touches as Mark Ingram did a year ago. He's a guy who I think is going to spell him. He's going to be a short yardage and most likely a red zone kind of just when they want to run it right up the middle type guy. I could see Latavius Murray walking away with like 6 or 7 touchdowns on the year, which I think would be on the high end, and maybe like 250 yards. I don't see a way that he's going to just demand the usage that Mark Ingram did. And Alvin Kamara last year without Mark Ingram, because remember he wasn't there for the first score of the season, was just insane. Now this is per our league of record, which is custom scoring, but hear me out. 41.4 points in week 1. Week 2, he had a modest 16.2. Week 3, 30.9, and week 4, 45.5. He didn't get back up to those totals again all season long, and that's because Mark Ingram came back. They were splitting the touches. I think that Alvin Kamara, when he's going to get the full workload, he's a guy who is going to be able to get you sustainably somewhere around those numbers, and I think that this is going to become kind of, and we always say this is copycat league, I think this is going to be kind of like what the Chiefs do. They have their couple guys that they hyper focus, and I think that Drew Brees is going to hyper focus. Obviously, Michael Thomas. He's going to command it. Ted Ginn's going to stretch the field. I don't think he's going to get a ton of targets, especially with Drew Brees getting older. But Michael Thomas is going to get a ton of targets at wide receiver position. I think Jared Cook is in a good spot to have a really good year at tight end. Best quarterback he's ever worked with. And then it's going to be Alvin Kamara in that running back position. I can easily see Alvin Kamara making a real push, which is why I have him actually currently ranked above David Johnson, because I think that the ceiling is just that good. And the floor I've raised so much, mostly because Mark Ingram is not there. CJ, what are your thoughts here? Because you split the difference.
Yeah, look, I'm a big fan of Alvin Kamara, man. I just the situation going on with the Saints, man, with their offense, because it's so explosive, the talent that they got there. It's I'm kind of feeling like Jason, man. There's a lot of mouths to feed in New Orleans, man. But I still feel somewhat with you. That's why I guess why I'm in the middle, where I feel like Alvin Kamara is still going to be able to eat, but it's just about how much are we eating? How can I realistically go off of the numbers that he's done before with Mark Ingram there and project that is what he's going to be doing now as him being the solid guy running the show? First say, as they say. I mean, even though they did bring Murray in there. So I don't know. It's just, I feel like, you look at the narrative, especially with last year with the foolishness that happened with this team, with the PI thing. I kind of feel like this is going to be like for them, it's going to be like a Drew Brees redemption tour. You know what I'm saying? So they want to get him passing and all this stuff like that. So there's certain narratives you look at and see, like, I can see them playing that out. But so that's what me. I mean, I'm not low on Kamara, and yet I'm not too high. So I'm right. I feel like I'm right there, respectable, top 5. That's me.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm looking at standard scoring now, and yeah, he broke 30 points twice in that span and never did again the rest of the season. Just to for the sake of anybody going home and looking like, wait, he broke 40 points, just the standard scoring. All right, so with that being said, that's our top 5. Let's round out the top 6, the elite guys, and a name that you may or may not expect to hear at this point, because you've heard a lot of narratives, both good and bad, surrounding this player for, let's be honest, like 2.5 seasons now. And that is New York Jets' new running back, Le'Veon Bell. Now, I have him at 6, as does Jason, which is where he finishes for us. And then CJ all the way down at 9. So, I guess, Jason, do you want to take this away, or CJ, do you want to start? Do we want to start positive or negative? Let's start positive, actually. Jason, tell me why.
Let's
start positive, because he's in the elite. He's in the top 6. So let's start with positive. Yeah.
All right. So he's going to get a lot of touches. He's in a good position right now because the Jets have improved their offensive line. Not a lot, but they have improved their offensive line, which is a good thing. And he's one of the best running backs in the league at being patient behind the line, finding a hole, exploding through that hole, exploiting that situation. He's in a really good position to do that now. And you also I think that young quarterback they've got, Darnold, is going to take a step forward this year, which is only going to help Le'Veon Bell. I think he's going to get he's going to be a little bit of a security blanket, going to get a lot of passes. going his direction from Sam Darnold. So overall, I feel like, and talent-wise, he's still one of the best running backs in the entire league. Okay, yeah, he had a year off. Is there going to be rust? Maybe, but I don't really think it's going to be that big of an issue. So I fully expect him to show out this year and kind of turn that Jets offense into a little bit more of an explosive unit.
There you go. CJ, the pessimist. Tell me why.
Listen. I like Le'Veon, even though he burned a lot of us last year. It's the Jets that I'm very leery on, and why I have Le'Veon where I have him. I mean, listen, Sam Darnold, yes, he showed promise. They have certain pieces on offense that I like, but this what a key point that Jason made is that he's used to being patient. He's known for being patient by the offensive line, but the offensive line that we know for him seeing is a good offensive line in the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Jets, they never really had that. They never really had a good offensive line these last couple seasons that we've seen them. So yes, I'm a little leery because yes, it's a great talent, but if this man don't got no line that he can run behind, where is he going to get these points? He's going to get a lot of the touches, but where is he going?
Yep.
He's going to go in. These offensive lines not going to be moving. So that's where I'm at. I'm at right now. I need to see what these guys to do, how they gel, how they mesh, and then I can be justifiably and most likely will move Le'Veon up on my rankings. But as it stands right now, the Jets offensive line is trash to me, so I can't move Le'Veon up higher than this.
I mean,
That's
I
just me.
completely agree with that, and that's the narrative that I've even been having up to this point. I recently moved him up my rankings because I did a little bit of research. Because I again, we don't expect the Jets offense to be anything in comparison to the Steelers offense of Le'Veon Bell years past. That's fair, and that's something we've talked about extensively. But I'm looking at the Jets, who have really retooled. They've spent a lot of money on defense to be in good field position. They've got weapons that I think they can use to stretch the field and keep defenses honest. Le'Veon Bell has gone out and he's put on a clinic by all accounts. He's run multiple conditioning drills just for the fun of it. I mean, he seems to be in incredible shape. He can catch the ball. And did I mention, and this is the main reason I boosted him, they have the easiest strength of schedule versus the run this season. So...
Yep.
That is a huge boost for a guy who we're expecting to struggle. I mean, so that obviously that's based on last year's statistics and analytics, and defenses change year to year. But as of now, he has the easiest strength of schedule versus the run, which can only help a guy like Le'Veon Bell, who if nothing else, is going to get the volume. So I mean, that alone drove him up into the top 6 because the guys that I have behind him, I have more concern about. But the guys ahead of him, I like a lot better. So for me, 6 was kind of that sweet spot. I felt like it was a little bit high until I looked at all the guys around him, and I just couldn't justify putting any of them above him, which is why I have him where I have him. Anything that you guys want to add here before we move on?
No, move on.
Nope.
All right, so there's our top 6. All right, home sprint. Bottom 6 of the top 12. Our number 7 running back. This is one that surprises me, and I need you guys to tell me why. Because I thought I was high on him, but holy crap. Todd Gurley, a name that you're probably not expecting to hear, because this is a guy that we've been saying is falling into the second round. In fact, where is he going right now? Yeah, he's going with the first pick in the second round right now. So he's actually moved up draft boards a little bit. I have him at 10. CJ the highest at 6. Jason at 8, splitting the difference here. So, CJ, are you putting the injury concerns behind you? What are your thoughts here?
My thoughts is this. I think this organization, this team, I've made this comment before. They are on the cusp. I mean, they were already there at the Super Bowl, but they need that Super Bowl. So I understand that they want to try to preserve Todd Gurley, and save his talent, save his energy, save those injuries from happening so they can be able to make a push. But that they were never going to be in that position if it wasn't for this man and what that man did during the season. So I hear them, but then I don't hear them because I see them still going to be able to use this man. Yes, I know they drafted a kid to be able to try to spell him and give him some rest so they don't put all the pressure on him. But I still think Todd Gurley is going to be productive. And for me, even with what they said and everything, all the narratives and all the reports been going on, I felt like I could not drop him further than 6. I just couldn't. when I look at the list, and we have some very good talent we about to mention. Still, with the situation he's in, coaching, even though I hate his the quarterback, everything else around him, I still think Todd Gurley is going to be productive and he's going to put those numbers up.
All right, Jason, you want to split the difference here before I get into it?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, this is a really, really good offense he's on. You know, this is an offense that's gonna score a lot. They're gonna be on the field a lot because they got a really, really good defense too. So Todd Gurley, even though he's not have as high a workload as he's had in the past, they're not gonna run him into the ground anymore. Even though that's the case, he's still going to get a decent workload, and he may even be more productive now, which is insane to say given his productivity in the past. He's been ridiculously productive as a running back, but the fact that he's going to be not touching the ball as often as he's done in the past, it's going to be more of Jared Goff's team now and less of Todd Gurley's team. I think that we may see him score more often. We may see him get more touchdowns this way, and we may see him break bigger plays and things of that nature. So while, yes, I have moved him, I mean, you're acting like we're saying he's like the best. He's like number 1, 2, or 3. We're not. He used to be the number 1 guy. The fact that I dropped him down in number 8, I mean, that shows you that he has dropped off quite a bit. I expect him to not have nearly the workload he's had in the past, but he's still on a very good team, and he's still a very talented running back.
That's fair. So let me start by saying that I agree with you guys. I see a world where Todd Gurley could still be the guy he was in the last couple of years, where he finishes as the RB1. He is that level of talent. My concern is that there's so many red flags around him that I had to fade him closer to the norm. I have him at 10, still an RB1, and that's going to surprise a lot of people because a lot of people are going to have him at, like I said, second round RB2 range, and that's hedging your bets. That's playing it safe. Red flags being that we still don't know the extent of the injury. We don't know exactly what happened that kept him out of the games. All the arthritic knee condition stuff, that's not something that goes away. Things that the team have done around him, were re-signing Malcolm Brown to a decently aggressive contract, and then third round pick of Darrell Henderson. Those are things that are going to affect his touches. The team has come out and said that they want to limit his touches, and this is a guy who's getting it done, on volume. I mean, almost 300 rushing attempts and 50-60 receptions each of the last couple of years under Sean McVay. I mean, those are big things to take a percentage away from. If you take away, let's say, for humor's sake, that it's somewhere between a quarter and a third of his touches, and you add that out, he finishes somewhere around the middle to lower end of the RB1s. And I mean, this is a guy who was insanely productive, but I mean, he still did it with volume. So I mean, there's a lot of things that are concerning here: the injury, the unknown, and all these different elements around it, and what the team has done, which is why I would love to have Todd Gurley, because this is a guy who single-handedly ran me to my last championship in our league of record 2 seasons ago. I should have lost those games, but Todd Gurley, he got it done. I love Todd Gurley, but I have to express caution. There's a lot of guys that I'm much more comfortable with their situations, which is why I have them ranked ahead of him. There's just too much unknown, and it honestly, even besides what the team has done, the unknown around the injury is still what scares me. So we just don't know what happened. So that's why I have him at 10. Still an RB1. I mean, he's at our consensus number 7, which, I mean, I don't hate, but that is higher than most analysts and most people in most rankings that you'll see. So it's an interesting thing because he's polarizing. Some people are still going to throw him in. I mean, and you'll see the casual people are like, oh, he finished RB1, I'm going to draft him RB1. You'll see the people who do that in your leagues too, which, I mean, that's just going to push these other guys down to you. And he could finish there, but there's an element of concern there for me, which is why I have him ranked where I have him. Do you guys have anything you want to add before we move on? No?
Nope.
All good. All right, so next guy on our list, a guy who I'm honestly surprised that I'm not the lowest on, and because I know that when we talked about this over the course of the last couple months, I've been pretty low on this guy. James Conner. I have him at 8. CJ at 7, Jason at 9. So we're all pretty close here. My concern here being, of course, my argument that I made, what was it? Probably like a month or two ago. You can't lose a player like Antonio Brown and have that not affect the entire offense. So I think that he's going to have a harder time running than he did last year. Teams have tape on him now, and I just think that the whole offense is going to struggle compared to what they did a season ago. Plus, this is a guy who has struggled with injuries. So that's why I have him down at 8 right now. I had him lower actually, but I moved him up because of the situations of players around him. I had to move down below him even. So James Conner's 8 for me. CJ the highest at 7. Tell me why.
Well, it's just the situation that he's in, man. I mean, look, Steelers, they're known for their using that one running back.
Yes.
He's gonna get all that. He's gonna get all that work. He's great catching the ball. Big Ben is gonna be going out there trying to prove all the doubters wrong, especially with all this drama stuff going on between him and Antonio Brown, and basically the killer bees being broken up. So there's gonna be a lot of stuff to prove, and I feel like James Conner is gonna be one of the guys that's gonna be on the receiving end on that. That's gonna be able to benefit. So that's why I got him up there, man. Just opportunity and the situation to be able to capitalize on it.
You just have it as a volume play?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's fair. Jason, your thoughts?
Yeah, I really like James Conner. I mean, he got 13 touchdowns in 13 games. He finished as the running back 6. He's a very good running back. He's not Le'Veon Bell, so that's why I'm not looking at him as being in the top 5 or any of that kind of stuff. And he has a diminished offense that he's going to be playing on. But I think that gives him an opportunity to be that workhorse. And like CJ already alluded to, they really love to use one workhorse running back.
Oh,
they love to lean on that one running back, and everything runs through that one guy. And Conner is that guy. The problem I have is that I think, like what CJ kind of alluded to, I think Ben's going to be trying to prove something this year. So I think he's going to be throwing the ball a lot. So I don't think Conner is going to see as many yards on the ground as he would have otherwise. He may get some stuff through the air, but that's why I have him down at 9.
Yeah, well, we know how much you believe in Ben Roethlisberger after Tuesday's show, having him all the way up at number 6. So that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, I look, and I agree. The Steelers have universal. This has been the narrative for years. They have been the team that can make no-name running backs into fantasy names because they hyper-focus one guy. Le'Veon Bell goes down, the guy behind him goes, and he gets all the volume. It's a great offense. They keep it going. But I think it's funny because if Antonio Brown was still there, if Antonio Brown was still a Pittsburgh Steeler, I would have James Conner probably in my top 6 pretty easily. But I just feel like that you can't lose talent like that and have that not affect the team as a whole, and that's why I have him a little bit faded. Still a really good offensive line. I think a team that's got a lot to prove, but let's not forget they're also playing in a stacked division with defenses they have to play multiple times a year, which is not going to help things for him either season long. So I have him at 9. We're all pretty much in unison here, so let's move on. Next guy on our list, I am this is going to be interesting. I am the highest by quite a large margin here. Dalvin Cook. Number 10 consensus for us. I have him at 7. CJ down at 12. Jason at 11. So you guys are much more in lockstep here than I am. Let me ask: is this recency bias? Why are we so low on him?
A little
Injuries. I mean, the guy has been injured every single year. I mean, you have to be careful when you're talking about this guy. Now, look, I love Dalvin. Okay, we're talking about a guy that is averaging 5.6 yards per carry. That's crazy. You know what I mean? But injuries. He gets injured all the time. If he stays healthy and he consistently stays healthy, I'm going to shoot him up my rankings because I freaking love the kid. But injuries.
That's fair. CJ?
That's a little recency bias for me. I love the guy. You know, I've been pulling for him in this system, especially with that quarterback. But I'm gonna have to taper back off, man. I mean, I think it's gonna if it works out, and if a person could be able to get him late and it pans out, then great. Then guess what? You looking real smart. You got somebody for the cheap, and you can be able to just ride that thing all the way out. But me, I've done it twice. I've done it twice and got burnt. Got burnt twice, so I gotta taper back off a little bit, man. I gotta taper back off a little bit. Nothing against him. I just gotta reel it back in.
That's fair. I wanted to get into this argument so bad. We did skip one guy, which we'll go back to at number 9. But yeah, Dalvin Cook for me. The reason why I'm just so hyped around this is just the system. You know, they have put so much time, effort, and money into upgrading the system. I think that obviously with Kirk Cousins in his second year there. I'm expecting them to have a real resurgence there. I think that the passing game gets going, and I think that that can only help the run game. That's just a huge thing for them. Also, another guy, a name you might know, a guy who is coordinating the running game for them, assistant head coach to the team, Gary Kubiak. He has a long track record of making just no name, no talent players into fantasy studs. And he is now working with Dalvin Cook, a guy who, combine affected him, obviously, and he fell in drafts. He shouldn't have. The talent, it was clearly there when he was playing in his rookie year and healthy. I think last year he was coming back still a little bit injured. I think mentally it wasn't there. He wasn't prepped for the changes and the system and the NFL speed. I think this is kind of a third year make or break breakout year for him, but I'm willing to buy into the breakout because I think that this is a system that's tailor-made for him, one that fits him better than what was there last year. Gary Kubiak is just an absolute guru, and with the stretch zone schemes, which is exactly what Dalvin Cook needs to succeed. And with everything I said, with the passing game being probably a lot more effective, I think that this is a situation that he, barring injury, can only thrive in. So I'm a big believer in Dalvin Cook this year, and I'm willing to fall in that sword if he does get injured again. But I think if he doesn't, I think that he will succeed. And also, let's not forget that they don't really have anything behind him to really spell him this year. They got a third round rookie again as insurance with Alexander Madison, which is that's great. But I don't think that he's going to be taking touches away from Dalvin Cook, a guy who should have been a first rounder a couple years ago. So with all that being said, does that sway you guys? Are you sticking to your guns, or do you just want to move on?
Yeah, man. I'm sorry. I mean, I appreciate what you
There's
did,
a level of concern there. I can't deny it. Like I if I was sitting there at 7, I would have a long, hard thought. Like, man, I know that's where my rankings have him, but I'm really concerned about the injuries. But I mean, I'm willing to buy the upside of a guy who we saw the talent in his rookie year. That's all I'm saying. Let's double back now. Let's go to number 9. Dalvin Cook was 10. James Conner at 8. Number 9, Joe Mixon. I have him at 9, which is where he finished. CJ at 8. Jason at 10. Guys, what are your thoughts on Joe Mixon here? Because I mean, I split the difference. Jason, you're lower than I am. I thought I'd be the lowest because I've been preaching just how much this team is falling apart. The offensive line is basically, these upgrades that they should have had have all fallen by the wayside. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to be really concerned about Joe Mixon, who finished at number 9 last year, which is another reason why I have him there, because I think it's going to be a repeat of last year. I don't know. Do one of you guys want to go first on Joe Mixon?
I'll go first since I'm the
highest. All right,
I'll go first. We can work it off of them. So listen, here's me. Joe Mixon reminds me a little bit about Saquon as far as the situation. You know what I'm saying? He was in a situation where not good of an offensive line, the wide receiver talent injured, and then he had a solid play and Tyler Williams, Tyler Williams, and then non-existent tight end. And then the quarterback play so. And the guy was absolutely money last year. Your man conquered all of that and still produced, and he returned on value. So my thing is this: look, you're going into this year. Joe Mixon he's a name that when you let all the big names go, the guys that we talked about, he's still a starter. He's still a dual threat. And he's a running back that's still going to be able to get the job done, even though he doesn't have a lot of good talent. Look, even though he doesn't have a lot of sustainable talent around him, because these guys keep dropping like flies with these injuries, he's still out there performing. So for me, Joe Mixon, he kind of proven himself to me that I'm like, hey, look, I can depend on, rely on you. You will get better if you have sustainable talent around you that can stay healthy. You will improve, and you're just going to return on my investment. But I'm still going to invest on you because of what you already done before.
That's fair. Jason, the lowest? Tell me why.
If Joe Mixon was on a different team, we'd be talking top 6, top 5.
Oh yeah.
Okay. The guy, I've been preaching this guy since he was coming out in the draft. Okay. I even wrote an article that's on the webpage. You can go look at it. That said that Joe Mixon was the best running back in the draft. Okay, and I still stand by that.
Oh, I do too.
He is very good. The problem is the team is not, and that's basically the only reason I have him there.
Yeah. This is a guy, if we went back and looked at my early rankings, a guy that I actually had in that top 6 range. now that he's gone, or now that the offensive line is gone, AJ Green is gone for a who knows how long period of time. This is a huge problem. I mean, I just don't see a way that he's able to excel over what he did last year, with the situation being essentially what it was last year. I mean, could he take a big step forward? Sure. Could this new offensive system be much more agreeable for him? Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, the offensive line is to me just in such shambles that I don't really see a way that he's going to have any good running lanes to work from, and it's going to require Andy Dalton to check down to him a lot, which is why we all have him still as an RB1, the talent and the pass catching ability. But I mean, who else is it going to be? I mean, Tyler Eifert, he'll probably be gone by week 2. He'll probably be injured. And then we're talking about Tyler Boyd and Cody Core. I mean, they're going to stack the line against Joe Mixon. He's going to be their main weapon, and they're going to threaten Andy Dalton to have to throw the ball. I'm just... That's my level of concern with it, and it sucks because if the offensive line hadn't gotten decimated and AJ Green was there, this is a guy who, yeah, I'd probably be having that probably 6 to 7 range, maybe, and instead of having him down at 9. And, I still kind of feel like that's kind of rich even having him at 9. So I don't know. It's interesting. Next guy on our list is a guy that we've already talked about quite a bit, Melvin Gordon. Did we lose Jason? Is Jason still here?
I don't know. He just dropped out of here. I was just gonna keep going.
Yeah, I guess let's just keep going. Hopefully Jason will be back on the call soon.
He'll pop back in.
He'll pop back in, which sucks because I really want him to pop back in because he's the highest by far. Jason has him at 7. 7.
I mean, maybe he has the same approach as you with Ezekiel Elliott, that all this stuff's gonna work out, blow over, and then they'll come to agreement. And I hope so too, because once again, I'm kind of feeling nervous, just like I felt about Zeke. If this keeps continue to progress and it goes into further, then we're looking at a situation where this guy has already shown that he's injury prone. You're not in football shape. You go out there on the field, you get hurt, and then look, you burnt us again. That's what I'm saying. It's just these guys in these contract talks. Look, I agree with them. Get your money. But man, you gotta be Larry, man. You gotta be Larry.
I mean, and we could talk about the contracts all day because I mean, we talked about a narrative that I brought up on Tuesday's show. You weren't here, CJ, talking about how I want to know how much all these players pushing for a contract is because they're the uncertainty surrounding the new CBA, because there'll be a new CBA next year,
right.
Or at least the negotiations will be going on. Hopefully, no holdout. We'll see how that plays out, but could be. So I think that a lot of guys just want to get paid now while they know what's going on, because if they get a big contract now and then the for instance, if the league year gets extended, then the idea is that they would get that but stretched out over more games. They'd make more money because there'd be more additional games. Who knows how the reasoning behind it. But Melvin Gordon, everything that we're hearing, and we talked about this earlier in the news, is that they are at ends. He doesn't want to play for the team. He's asking for a trade unless he gets paid. And he wants a ridiculous amount of money, and the team doesn't seem interested in paying him. So my belief is that Melvin Gordon is going to hold out, not season long. I think he holds out the maximum number of games. He's back with the team probably around week 9, week 10. And then he's probably going to just be there and probably not even play. If he does suit up, he's probably going to be on the sideline. I don't see a way that he's really contributing for this team in 2019. So, I mean... you have him at 13. You have him outside the RB1s. And I mean, there's an absolute world where that's even too high. I completely agree. I have him at 11 because I'm like, well, maybe he does come back. Maybe it works out. Maybe he only misses a couple games. That's the concern. And it's just really, really polarizing because, I mean, this is a guy who might not be useful all season long for fantasy. Or this is a guy who we could go back to the last time we did these ranking shows where I think he was our consensus number 5. And I think he's worth that pick if he's back with the team. I mean, this is a absolutely loaded roster. I mean, obviously Phillip Rivers at quarterback, Hunter Henry coming back at tight end, a massive upgrade over Antonio Gates. Obviously Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Travis Benjamin at wide receiver. I mean, this is an offense that is going to be a high-flying, high-scoring offense, and a defense which is pretty decent. It's an underrated defense, but it's actually a pretty good one. So, I mean, this is a team that could really be competing for the playoffs, and therefore we talk about wanting these running backs on good teams. That's a recipe for success for Melvin Gordon. And he's been that guy the last couple of years. And this is coming from a guy who was the biggest anti-Melvin Gordon guy of the show for his rookie and sophomore year, because he was so bad per touch, but he has gotten infinitely better, and Anthony Lynn, Ken Wisenhunt, the system just seems to work, and now we just don't know. So the uncertainty is why he's faded this far. There's a realistic expectation in a world where he could fall further than this. I mean, let me see where he is going right now. Melvin Gordon is currently going as the running back 12, so later than we have him as our consensus by 1 pick. He's going 4th pick in the 2nd round right now. So, I mean, I expect him to fall from there because just the uncertainty. We just don't know what to expect. Jason's back. We speculated on your thought process, Jason. Why do you have Melvin Gordon so high at 7?
Main reason I got Melvin Gordon so high at 7 is, first off, I believe in that team. I think that that's a really high caliber offense. Like I said earlier, I believe this is a Super Bowl contending team that Melvin Gordon's on. The only thing that concerns me with him is injuries, but we're talking about a guy with 5.1 yards per carry. As far as the team situation and the trade, I said earlier in the show, I don't think that's going to be a thing. I think that right now they're just circling each other, and he's just trying to get as much as he possibly can. I think this is the best situation that he can be in. So I highly expect that they're just going to re-sign him, so it won't be that big of an issue. And again, as good as this team is, he's going to get a lot of yards, and he's already proven he can be a stud.
Yeah. So your belief is that he's not going to miss a ton of time. So.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to miss any time. I think they're going to sign him before the season, and he's going to play from day one.
That would be nice. Like we said, if that was the case, I think we would all jump him back up to the top 5, top 6 range where we had him before. So, All right, last guy on our list. This is really interesting. I have him at 15. CJ at 11, Jason at 12, and that is Cleveland Browns running back Nick Chubb. Now, I have him down that low because I'm expecting him to, I mean, obviously, I think the Browns are going to be a really good offense. I think he's every bit deserving of being a top 12 guy, but it's the Kareem Hunt factor that just really kind of concerns me, and I don't know what that impact's going to be once he gets back from his suspension. So that's why I faded a guy who you're only going to get maybe a little bit over half a season out of consistently, and then from there, it's a big gray area. Not just a gray area. It's not like these guys we're talking about right now that are going to miss the beginning of the season potentially. The gray area for him is your playoff push and your fantasy playoffs, and that's for me a lot more concerning because you don't know what you're going to have when you need him the most. So that's why I have him faded. If that wasn't the situation, I would easily have this guy as a top 12 guy all day, every day, because I think that he showed last year in this system, Freddie Kitchens and all that, and the upgrades around him, I think he's going to be a monster. But for how long, and will that continue? That's my concern. CJ, you're the highest at 11. Do you not agree with that, or are you just not that concerned?
I'm like this. Look, yes, I'm concerned, but at the same time, I'm looking at the position. I'm looking at a guy that's in an absolutely, on paper, as it stands right now, we haven't seen it on the field yet, but on paper, an absolutely ridiculous offense. So a guy that can just be able to just go and sneak through the cracks and have ridiculous amount of fantasy points. For however long, was it 10? It's 8 weeks, 10 weeks. What was it for Green Hunt?
10.
I think
10. So those 10 games. I got 10 games to be able to profit off of this, and possibly you never know because with the injury, Kareem Hunt has to be away from the team, so he's not working around the team and staying in shape and stuff like that. He's doing his own thing, and then he comes back once again, not in football shape, but he's in shape. And
I think it's 8
you never
games,
know.
isn't it?
Whatever, 8 to 10 games.
I think
It's
Whatever.
9 and a bye week.
I think it's 8 and a bye week, which makes it 9. I think he's back week 10. Regardless, it doesn't matter.
Regardless,
I think he's back week 10.
Fact remains. I got a guy that's solid that I can be able to get low because people are going to be thinking like you guys as well. Like, man, why? No, I'm sorry. Well, Jason, you and I are about to say, but like, why invest in this guy when I'm not gonna be able to have him at the end? But still, I'm gonna profit where I can. I can still be able to profit from this guy and get these games. I'm gonna do it. So that's me.
And then trade him.
Yeah, trade, and then try to trade him. See if I can get somebody to give me something.
That's fair. That's an approach. It is 8 games, by the way, and their bye week is in there. So yeah, he's back week 10. It's not 10 weeks. It's back week 10. So
right.
We figured it out. Jason, what are your thoughts?
After weeks number 7 last year, he was the running back 7 throughout the rest of the season.
Yep.
This is a guy who has an opportunity to be a top 10 running back. He's going to be in an offense that, as CJ already alluded to, is vastly improved from what they've had in years past. They got a great young quarterback there that's going to run that offense well, and he's going to get touches. He's going to get a lot of touches. As far as when Kareem Hunt comes back, I don't think that's going to be that big of an issue. I don't think you go away from what works. I have a feeling Cleveland's going to win a lot of games, and I think that they're going to keep going with what works. Though they may seed Kareem Hunt in to spell a little bit, but I think if Nick Chubb plays at the level that he can play at, which I definitely think he can this year, once they start handing him the rock, I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue. I think he's going to continue to be productive. He's going to continue to be that guy, and I will take 8 weeks of Nick Chubb, no problem.
It's really interesting. I mean, Kareem Hunt, he finished as the running back, 8, despite him only playing through week 11 last year. I mean, that's the level of talent we're talking about. So, and that's the concern. That's where it's polarizing. Do you think that the team got him just to try and maybe trade him and or have something down the line, maybe contract him for next year and then trade him away, or is this they're going to do a two-headed approach? They're going to cannibalize each other, or there's just a lot of unknown, and that's why he's going to be a little bit polarizing. I'm actually curious where he's going right now. I actually don't know. I didn't look this up. Let's see.
Who's on Kareem Hunt?
No, Nick Chubb. He's going. Well, okay, so he's going higher than we have him as a consensus. He's going as the running back 10, so higher than any of us have him ranked right now. So I guess people just aren't concerned about Kareem Hunt, or they're just gonna do a. It's honestly the approach that I would do. Get the guy, get the good weeks out of him, and then, like CJ was saying, trade him away right before Kareem Hunt comes back to try and get somebody who's not paying attention or forgot about it. So that's a good strategy too, because I think he's going to be a monster to that point. It's just, man. It's so uncertain, and that's what makes it interesting, though. All right, but yeah, that's it. That's our top 12 running backs. So to recap, we have at number 1, Saquon Barkley. At number 2, Ezekiel Elliott. At number 3, David Johnson. Number 4, Christian McCaffrey. Number 5, Alvin Kamara. Number 6, Le'Veon Bell. Number 7, Todd Gurley. God, that feels crazy to be saying. Number 8, James Conner. Number 9, Joe Mixon. Number 10, Dalvin Cook. Number 11, Melvin Gordon, still making it up there. And number 12, Nick Chubb. And that's it for us today, guys. That is our top 12 consensus, your number 1 running backs for the 2019 season. Of course, this is something that's going to live and breathe and change, and the link will be refreshed on the website. Hopefully, we can figure out how to get the rankings directly on the website, so you guys don't have to click on a link to take you to a different doc. That's the dream. I'm researching, I'm working on it. But in the meantime, you will be able to find regularly updated rankings on the website, thefantasyfootballfanatics.com. And we'll be back on Tuesday when we're going to get into the real meat of the position, which is the running back 2s and a bit of the RB3s, those flex guys. That's where it gets really diverse, where you're going to see a lot of these guys rank. So that should be a lot of fun. So make sure you guys check back there. Make sure you guys follow, subscribe wherever you're listening. We're going to stick around on Twitch to answer some questions. Guys, any parting thoughts before we get out of here?
Hey, man, you guys have a good weekend.
Huh?
Go out there and forgot what came out this weekend movie-wise. Just go to the movies, man. Do it with your family.
CJ, endorsing
Hobbs and Shaw, man. Hobbs and
I do want to see that. I do want to see that.
Yeah, go see that. That's
Yeah.
I knew I was gonna remember something.
Yeah, let's go.
Anything with The Rock in it, I'm good with.
Let's go catch a movie, guys. All right, so with that, we're out of here.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, come on, Jason, come on out. All right,
Yeah.
all right, guys, we will see you on Tuesday. Take care, everybody. Bye.